Hi, welcome to Challenge the Road. Got a community video today just to give you a bit of an idea of what CTR are doing, what we're doing with our community. We've been doing stuff around car insurance, but we're moving on to car finance. And what I wanted to show you in this video was a discussion with people in car finance saying, right, how do I finance an electric vehicle considering the huge losses they're having at the moment? I'm in the same boat. We're going to do the call. I'm going to act like I don't know too much about cars and finance, but we're going to talk about some of the deals I've done, but also act in a way that could help someone who's maybe buying their first electric car, obviously not getting too caught out money-wise with these finance deals as well. If I can just have one more minute though, just on here, this is the Challenge the Road channel. We have a tab called playlists, and on here you can look back through and see different videos. One community partner ones, that's about the insurance and the links, the car competitions we hold, the EV section, a lot of videos on here. So 19 videos on EVs and hybrids, the Land Rover insurance, 19 videos again, chasing modern classics, which is the original starting of the channel, cars I own or aspire to own, bits on the P1. So you can see a lot there. There is a community tab. So if you click on that, this is where I just put about events. So we've got a Cars and Coffee, 19th, next Friday, 8:30 to 12. So that's not far away, but we just all meet up, we talk about cars. We have Active Digital there as our partner on tech, and last time we done a bit about Starlink and different tech you could use for your business. Community stuff here, JLR updates, we're still pushing for that, and I'm still doing that. I'm still trying to help on there. So yeah, it's just a nice section. This was a video I done about the Lancias, my favourite cars. The other thing that really helps is if you can join, and you can join the channel, and you can pay $2.99 and upwards more if you wanted to go into the car draws. But that really helps us because it helps us grow. It helps me pay the photographers, people who are doing the video work in the background, but also for the car events and what we're doing at Buell, we're covering all that cost of all them coffees, bacon rolls, people coming down. So it just helps us, and I'm hoping you'll find the videos interesting. That's the main aim of it. You've got to remember I kept a lot of this to myself. I grew a collection, and now we're just trying to share that. So yeah, so that's the channel. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to do a call to the car financing company we use, and we're going to use these going forward. So there will be, not in this video, but there'll be another video with links and a partnership with them. So I'm going to get on that call. We're going to talk about EVs. I've got some notes, which is about, should you buy it cash, PCP, what happens if you're a business, all these tax breaks we spoke about that weren't quite as good as we thought, which we spoke about in previous videos. So right, so the next time you see me, I'll be on the call.
Hi Richard.
Hi Rob, how you doing?
I'm very good, how are you?
And welcome to the channel.
Thank you for having me.
I've only spoken about a million times between us, but obviously now you're live. Well, you're not live, but you will be on tonight. I was just doing a piece on car finance, and obviously EV vehicles are dropping hugely in value. And I remember when you saw my video and I said, look, I've paid in cash for the Taycan, and you quickly said to me, we need to be in a PCP, and we go more into that. But I just wanted to give the viewers something on ideas of the best way of approaching these vehicles from a finance point of view, and just covering themselves. So if we started with the Taycan as one, so it was a car that was 105,000 new. We paid, I think, 66.
Correct, yeah.
Including VAT.
Yeah, so you were able to take advantage of claiming the VAT back, and you funded, 55, something like that?
That's right. And then we decided to put it on a PCP with, I think, a balloon of 40. Is that right?
Yes. So no two deals are ever going to be the same for the same customer. Everyone's going to have different requirements. But where that deal works out quite well as a used car is the government will let you depreciate that car by 18% per annum.
Yeah.
So you're going to have written that car down to probably below the balloon value by the time you get that car back.
Yeah. So at the moment with the deal, just if we start then, so under my sort of questions I've got, let's start as if I am a company user. So let's just say I wanted to purchase that car originally new and I paid 105,000. I would have a corporation tax rebate of say 25% or whatever it is now against that car straight away.
Correct.
But when I sell that car, I have to give that amount back at what I sold it for. So if I sold it for 50, I've got to give 25% of 50 back.
Yeah. So basically, you've had the tax rebate up front.
Yeah.
And at the point that you dispose of that car, you've then created 100% profit on an asset that you've written down to zero. So therefore, you're 3 or 4 years' time, you're giving back money.
Yeah.
And the only way to avoid that is to stay on the EV treadmill. So if you bought another electric vehicle, which would obviously be of greater value, you would obviously then you'd be netting off, wouldn't you? Because you'd be saying, "Oh, well, I bought another £120,000 vehicle, so the tax man owes the company £25,000-30,000 again, but I owe him 12, so I go forward 12, 13." Which is all well and good if electric vehicle suits you and you want to stay in an electric vehicle, you are sort of having to kick that can constantly down the road. Otherwise, at some point, you're going to have to give that money back.
Yeah, so at the moment, if it's a new car, I can get that. Now, I've then bought that second hand, so I haven't got that 100% depreciation, but I have got this 18% depreciation, haven't I, every year?
Yeah, so the rules currently state that any electric vehicle, I think actually, or any hybrid vehicle up to 50 grams of CO2 can have 18% depreciation, compared to a combustion engine vehicle, which I think is about 6%.
So my 65 is going to be whatever 13,000 off that, isn't it? So 52 within the first
so times 18%. Yeah, so basically, so you would be able to depreciate that vehicle. Just keep it round numbers, £12,000.
Yeah.
In the first year, of which obviously that depreciation would offset an element of corporation tax, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And then the next year it would be slightly less because it's on a depreciating balance. But over the course of that 3 years, you're going to depreciate that vehicle somewhere between £35,000-37,000.
Yeah, I get you. So I mean, if I had bought it new, there's still no way I'm better off than the 40,000 it's already lost. Do you see what I mean? Because it's already lost 40k.
And this is where the anomaly is. So obviously nobody knew maybe that electric vehicles would depreciate so heavily in the first 18 months. I mean, your Taycan is not the only example, is it? You know, you could buy a Fiat 500e 18 months old for £16,000. That car was over £30,000 new. So it's not just the Porsche. It's all electric vehicles.
So on my deal, let's just say, because there's some situations happening with my car at the moment that are tricky. But let's just say I keep that for 3 years, I've lost 26,000 plus interest on the payments, and I can give that car back.
You walk away from it.
Yeah, okay. Which is what it's looking like now, because the values are dropping. I mean, I didn't quite really, because I'm normally fairly shrewd with buying. I mean, at the time, I bought the cheapest 4S Cross Turismo on the market, but it's not the cheapest now. And I don't think we've ever known a market where we are seeing cars drop significant values in 3 months, like £10,000-15,000 drops. I've just asked for a trade price on the Taycan, and I haven't quite got that yet, but I know it's going to be sort of low 50s. So I'm 5 months in. It's obviously different because I've got the relationship with VVS, Harris and Dan, yourself, and I know you'd sell that car probably just about in the 60s. So that would be my easiest way of getting a return back. So if you let's put ourselves in a position that if I said to you now, because obviously there's ways of doing it. If I'd paid with cash, I think this Taycan in 3 years' time is going to be under 40. Right.
Yeah. So where you benefited, or hopefully could benefit on PCP, is the future value is guaranteed.
Yeah.
And the only caveat to that is obviously fair wear and tear in the condition, and you adhere to the mileage. But in even the mileage situation, you're only like 8-10p a mile penalty. So a few thousand miles here and there is, it's not going to break the bank. And bearing in mind, if you've done more miles than you contracted for, you therefore use the vehicle, haven't you? So you're not paying for something you haven't had, you're paying for something you have had.
I'm definitely visiting a lot of garden centres.
So if you said you're going to give that vehicle back in 3 years' time, you're going to run the course of the contract and give the vehicle back in 3 years' time, you can actually crystallise your cost, can't you? Because you can say, well, my purchase price was 66, my balloon is 40, I'm giving it back because it's worth less than 40. So someone else is going to bear the future loss on that vehicle for you, aren't they? If that car's worth
right.
30,000, if that car is worth £30,000 in 3 years' time from when you bought it, they basically underpin that £10,000 for you, haven't they? They've let you borrow less money, pay less interest, pay less capital at their risk.
So I'm just looking at. So we've talked about cash. So if I'd bought that cash, I could have been in a bit of a problem, really. I think.
Well, no one.
Let's just say that car's 20 grand in 3 years' time.
That's your problem.
Not my problem. Sorry, that's their problem.
That's their problem.
Yeah,
if you bought it cash.
So if I PCP it, I've covered myself to 40. Now, what about if? Because traditionally, it's one of the first PCP deals I've ever done. So it probably is because normally I'm buying a car that I don't expect to heavily. I mean, I'll give you an example. Like the van I bought, that's over a year now, and I think I paid 50 including VAT, and I've just sold it for 42 including VAT, and I've done about 12,000 miles. So that isn't too bad. But this Taycan has already probably lost that. I wish I hadn't because obviously I rose to everyone saying, Richard, you hate EVs. I bought a Taycan, now it's cost me a poxy fortune. But anyway, I'm in it now. So, and whatever happens on here will be a true reflection of what happens, I think. What about would you say that people now are just going to lease these cars? Because it's become like a pay-as-you-go, like a phone sort of thing. You have the phone, you pay so much a month, and then I've just got a fixed capital overhead, and I don't have to worry about this massive depreciation that's happening.
As I said to you at the top of the conversation, it really is individual led, which is why we always take the time to understand what our customers need. So there are pros and cons to lease, to PCP, to cash, to whichever route you take. If you go down the leasing route, the biggest con that you're exposed to is it's an unregulated agreement where the only exit is normally paying out every single payment, because effectively you're renting the car. So it's a bit like going to Hertz and taking a car for a week, not liking it on the first day. Well, they're not going to give you any money back because you've rented it for a week. And basically a lease is like a 3 or 4 year version of that. So you go along to a leasing company, you say to them, like, I want a vehicle for 3 years and I want to put down 3 months in advance. I want it for 10,000 mile contract. They work out what it comes to and they give you a monthly fee. Now, from a company's perspective, again, this is current legislation. HMRC dictate that, again, vehicles up to 50 grams of CO2 are 100% deductible. So say, for example, you'd have gone to Porsche and you'd have bought a brand new Taycan on a 3 year contract and they came back with payments of £1,200 a month. you would be in that deal for 3 years unless you paid up the balance. So you are sort of pretty much welded. So if you go into a lease, you do have to go into it eyes wide open. This is my car for 3 years.
Yeah. Okay.
But the one thing you do know is that you can immediately, from a accounting point of view, you know what the savings are, what the benefits are for the business, because you know you're going to pay £12,000 a year, £15,000 a year. That's deductible. Therefore, each year that deduction is going to mitigate your corporation tax. You have no exposure to future value. If it, again, a bit like the PCP, if it all goes to a ball of chalk, you simply walk away from that car. You hand the keys back on. They come and collect it from you. In fact, at the end of your 3 years, they'll inspect it for condition. Depending on what sort of contract you've gone for, whether you've included tyres, included maintenance, they'll make a fair wear and tear assessment. If you've looked after the vehicle, kept within your mileage contract, you'll simply wave goodbye to the car, potentially have a new one. So it's a very good way to buy a car or own a car.
Also, I think that they cover a lot of the running costs as well, don't they? Because it's probably servicing and tyres you can build in.
You can build in. It's relative. I'd say a higher mileage driver, that would be value. But if you're a lower mileage driver, unless you're wheel spinning it from every set of traffic lights, 24,000 miles in 3 years, are you going to get through a set of tyres? Debatable.
So lease, at the end of the day, lease is a pretty good way of doing it. And there has been, I always remember there was a lease deal on a Golf R at £200 and all my friends went for that.
Yeah, and the next point I was going to come on to, there's a reason why you often see these deals in the market. So leasing companies often get bigger discounts than the actual dealer supplying the car. So it's not unusual for a manufacturer to offer like Lex Vehicle Leasing or Arval or ALD Automotive, the big bank-owned leasing companies. It wouldn't be unusual for them to be offered 30% discount on electric vehicles. And the reason for that is those vehicles can't be resold until the 3-year period is up. So they're getting this huge discount. They could almost come straight back to the market and sell for a profit, but they can't because they're handcuffed for the 2, 3, 4 year period that they've agreed to take that car. So by the time they can sell it, it just comes into the market as a genuine used car that will be sold at auction or via their own disposal channels. So these leasing companies will often sense a time for a deal, and they would pick up the telephone to BMW, for argument's sake, and say, look, we will build a deal around the new iX5. We will commit to take 1,000 cars this quarter, and in return, we want X. And then they'll horse trade over a deal. They'll then be able to put a rental together that's more competitive than any other deal in the market. So you could go to 4 or 5 leasing companies, and they're all offering an iX5 for £1,000 a month. But Lex have got 1,000 cars at $850 a month. When they're gone, they're gone. So you do see these deals pop up, and they are very isolated.
I think also we've seen interest rates rise hugely, which has affected the market as well as from a residual value. And then obviously you've got this factor at the moment of whether this electric journey is going to work, which is where, I was speaking to someone earlier about, Kazoo. There's now a glut of cars on the market because obviously they've gone under paying for these cars, obviously buying these cars and trying to turn them around very cheaply. And that's given a glut of cars. You obviously got a lot of people coming now out of the sort of 3 years lease as a company benefit on a Taycan. So when I'm looking here, it's 2021 reg, 2021 reg. So they've done their bit now, and now they're saying, well, I want out the car because my 3 years is ending. And obviously a lot of them didn't realise they've got to pay back this tax as well. I think everyone, I was the same until I really looked into it, that I just thought, well, I'll just buy the car and I'll get my 20% and that's mine forever. But obviously it's not.
No, there's no such thing as a free lunch, is there?
So, my way of doing cars was always hire purchase. and that was just because, and we still do that now, where because I know I've got good residual in the car, and what I want to protect in this video is people thinking, for me, if you're in a petrol car, you were at peak technology really for petrol and diesel and all these engines. So even though they are depreciating a bit, I think they're starting to hold up, and I actually think they're going to maybe really hold up because people, are buying electric cars and they're going back to petrol or diesel. So, which is a market we've never seen something as new as electric come into the market, apart from when we were forced to go to diesel. So if you remember, they forced us to go to diesel because they said this is brilliant. So then not many people had petrol cars, and when I look at the ratio, there's 5 times as many diesel cars for sale on Auto Trader as petrol.
It's funny actually, because the point you make is very, very relevant. If you look at how everyone got pushed into that diesel channel, if you did the sums, diesel cars don't really stack up unless you're doing the big miles to get the 50 to the gallon to get the relevant savings. If you ran a cost per mile or an ownership cost across buying a petrol car, which probably started out £2,000 cheaper, paying slightly less for petrol than you do for diesel at the pumps, putting it all into one big mix, you probably find that diesel cars for people under 8 that were doing like 10,000 miles a year were not actually a financial benefit. They just, in the same way people have jumped on the EV bandwagon, that they were like, buy a diesel, it's the next great thing. And electric's the same, but I think electric's even worse, and you're seeing these values sliding even harder, because the only people who can really drive an electric vehicle easily and live with it are people with a driveway. If you can't charge your car...
Well, my electric car point's not even working. I'm still trying. I'm having to get another one. But you've got to remember as well is that we were sort of under the impression that this electricity would be quite cheap. But obviously to put a charger in still £500 to £1,000. But also then you need an electrician. Then you need to get it in the... And the other thing I'm struggling with at the moment, which is even more frustrating, is that they keep putting the epoxy charging points in different positions on the car. So when I look at my Taycan, it's on the front, and on the Q5 it's on the back. So we're having to reverse in, go in, do it, or get longer leads everywhere. There hasn't been much control. There hasn't been, like when I had my Golf GTE, it was on the front, on the badge, and it just seemed easy. I just thought this is just super easy. But now, one car you're reversing in, the other car you have to think about it a bit more. And then when you're externally charging, it's costing so much more. I mean, I was saying it on the last video, I think it's about 11 miles per gallon from the garden centre, and when I'm on a motor.
Yeah, so this is the other consideration. If you can charge your vehicle at home, the simple maths are 100 kilowatt battery is going to cost you between, depending on your overnight rate, between £7 and £9 if you're getting 9p a kilowatt. And that's going to get you a full battery, which would go 200 miles, 210, which is cheaper than diesel, is cheaper than petrol, because by the time you've done to get sort of 500 mile range, you're going to have to charge it 2.5 times. You're still only up to 22, 26 pounds, something like that. If you then stray off your home charging and you're into garden centres, roadsides, etc., you can be as much as 40, 50p a kilowatt.
Well, more. I'm 75p this morning.
So now 100. So at 75p, that's £75 to charge a 100 kilowatt battery car.
Yeah. Oh, I'm always spending £60, and then I have to have cake, and then I have to have, and it goes. I mean, I went there today just because it was weird. When I went away, I had the hybrid Q5, and when it got to 150 miles, I thought, cool, I've got to get fuel. And of course, 150 miles in my electric one, it's like 70%. So it's interesting the thought on how it works. I mean, the other thing is I've seen today on Taycans is that they've come out to say that there's another fire risk and they're going to do another recall on the car. and they don't want owners to charge more than 80% on the and then this is the newer model. So where they're saying it's more miles, then now you've got to take 20% off it. So you're actually back probably where the original car is now, because they're saying don't, because it's a fire risk. So there's just too many. There's a lot of variables there. Now I'm just looking at some cars here. So the Renault Zoe, I'm looking at them when they come out. They've been out a while as an electric, very low, but I'm just trying to think in my mind. So if I want to get a Porsche Macan, and I really want a GTS, and I found one, and it's £36,000. So normally I would go, hi Rob, yeah, let's do an HP deal. I'll do straight 36 months. That was always my trend. 36 months, 10-15% deposit, say, done. I have that car. Now, that car at with new was, say, let's just say £70,000. It's done 35,000 miles, and I'm going to give about 38, okay, for it. I would know that car wouldn't be less than, say, 25,000 in 3 years.
Yeah, well, the figure that sprang into my head was probably a bit more. I was certainly going to say 20, but depending on mileage, etc. Yeah, it's so done the bulk of its.
But if I bought an electric car now, my mind is saying to me, if I buy, let's just say I buy, I don't know, a 20, let's say a Model Y thing. And I was just looking at them on here, actually. I've just got a big screen up while you're talking. But if I wanted to get a model, I did actually go and test drive one of these, because I was quite interested in them, but had a lot of regeneration on the braking. But let's see how many of us, there's probably, there's a lot for sale on here. But let's just say that's a similar car and I pay 35,000 for the car. I'm thinking this car is going to be worth £5,000 to £10,000 in free, just because Tesla are bringing out the Model 2, which apparently is coming out at £20,000, and these just look to me more like a sort of a disposable car, because they're all the same. There's no, performance is a negligible talking point at the moment, because they're all so fast. There's no point talking between 4 seconds, 2 seconds, 5 seconds. Makes no difference. So all I've got is a car with an iPad screen. So there's one here, 2022 model. I'll bring it up for the viewers here. So £32,000, and it's a Tesla Y, long range, 500 horsepower. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, man.
So I've got enough speed. It's got all the tech I want on it. If I was to say buy that now, you would be going to me buy it on a PCP. A PCP, and it says PCP on here. Just because obviously I could get a guaranteed value, because in the real world, Tesla could flood the market with this, and they're all worth £5,000 or £6,000 in theory.
Well, the other benefit potentially of a PCP is you get to win on the upside. So let's just say the finance company have got a balloon of £18,000 in 3 years' time on that Model Y. I'm just making the figures up. I'm not in a quote. And miracle of miracles, the vehicle is you can return £20,000 either through trade, through We Buy Any Car, through any disposal channel. That £2,000 is yours.
Yeah, and I've seen people do that, where they've had like a Golf R, like we were talking about before. They have very high residual car.
Yeah, so where PCP is a great benefit is pretty much all of the outcomes are in the customer's favour. If the car's not worth the money, you walk away from it.
Yeah.
If the car's worth more than the balloon and you're quite happy with the car because it's, I don't know, you bought a brand new car, you ran it for 3 years, you're in a stronger financial position. So you think, well, do you know what? We've only done 15,000 miles in this car in 3 years. That can now be the family second car. We'll upgrade to a newer, better car. For our main car, it could be the dogs and logs type car. So the balloon is 20, but the car's worth 25. So to you think, well, it's worth buying. I'll keep that. Off I go. You pay off the balloon, you're done. The next thing is, obviously, if you're not keeping the car but you're selling it, the equity is yours. So if it's worth less, you walk away. If it's worth more, you feel you might keep it, or you cash in. So PCP gives you that peace of mind that at the end of 3 years, all of the outcomes, depending on your circumstances, are potentially a benefit to you. You've either bought a car that's depreciated heavier than what you ever thought it would do, so you've protected your cash position and you walk away from it. It's worth more, so you sort of had like a savings plan out of it, or you just want to keep it and you pay off the balloon.
So I mean, I've got a Model X here, and so what I look at is them residuals again. So I think the Model X was about £100,000. So this is £23,000 now with 80,000 miles. The depreciation on this is reminding me of something like, you remember the old 7 Series? You know, they used to absolutely bomb in value. You know, so
I could go back further and say a Fiat Chroma Turbo.
Right. So it's not about, you know. So I remember when it came out, so I really wanted one, but I thought I'm not going to pay whatever it was. I think it was between 80 and 100,000, depending on the model, and I think it had some self-drive stuff that would cost a bit more. But you're looking, you know, these look like bargains to me, because for £23,000, I'm in a 260 mile electric car. You know, in fairness to Tesla, I mean, it's got everything on it. And I could potentially buy this second hand and keep reducing this at 18%, I assume. So really my cost to run, if I've got a home charger, is very low, isn't it?
Yeah.
If that suits my lifestyle, that's a good buy.
And I think this is where electric cars haven't found their level yet. Is, you know, you can't catch a falling knife.
Well, that's how I feel at the moment. You know, I felt that with the Taycan. You know, I kept thinking, well, a Porsche normally hit, even like a 911 or these type of cars, even the Macan and all that, they hit a level where you go, it's not going to go much lower than that. And I was thinking with the Taycan at 65, I thought, 50, that's what I was thinking. Because Porsches don't normally lose more than 50% because mine would only be a 4-year-old car, Rob. I mean, it was only a year old when I got it. In a 4-year-old Porsche, you don't normally lose 50%. But it's going to be lower than that now. It's going to be it's going to hold 30% of the value because of this unknown with the battery. Well,
if you had bought £105,000 worth of 911, 992, I know it's a different car, different, you can't compare eggs with eggs, but if you'd have put £105,000 of your hard-earned money into a 911 at 4 years of age, it's going to be worth so much more than that Taycan. Well,
and I'm seeing that there's actually comments on videos where people are saying, I'm getting rid of the Taycan and I'm getting a 911. So that is happening now. From my point of view, really, unless I sell the car fairly soon, I'm going to have to have this Taycan for the next 2.5 years. That's sort of in my mind. But I can get the tax benefits and I can use it, deliver the milk round here and that. That might be a new job for me. Milk and cake. There you go. That could be good.
I remember those. I remember the electric milk float.
And then the other way is I give it to Harrison and he sells it now and I get into a Macan, or I just carry on, obviously ruining my life with this electric car, and everyone finds it quite funny on the video. Because I still haven't got my home, but once I get my home charger working, then hopefully I can save 50p on charging. No, I can save quite a bit on charging, and it is a very good car to drive. I have to keep reminding. I do like the car. There's nothing wrong with the car. It's very nice. But obviously there's a new one coming out, Rob, as well. So obviously that's going to have a push on residuals, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the thing with electric cars is very much a case of the stars need to align. You need to be able to charge at home as much as possible to take advantage of cheaper running costs. I think you need to be in for a long-term ownership. It's not something you could, if you buy and get bored of it. As you can see, there is blood on the carpet. There is pain to take. So I would say, if I knew I could live with the car, I would probably lease it. I'd get my company to lease it, because I think that way I know what all my costs are up front, I've got no exposure to to that depreciation. It's built into my payment. Or I would probably buy a second-hand vehicle, a year old that's still got decent amount of manufacturer's warranty, huge amount of depreciation. It would come down to running costs, wasn't it? Because if I said to you, you could have a brand new Taycan on lease for £1,000 a month, or you could have a year-old one for £650 a month.
It's interesting. Then it becomes interesting, doesn't it? Because we're not doing the same
really
thing.
It really comes down to the calculation. The leasing car has to be brand new because you can only lease a brand new car, but the PCP could be a brand new car and still give you that future value, or could be a second-hand vehicle. And to my mind, whilst these things are still falling, and like I say, we all thought end of last year the bottom was probably in, and it just doesn't look like it is.
It's interesting. On my screen, I've got the Model X here at 23,000, but there's no option of a PCP. There's just HP, and if this goes down to 15,000, then probably you're almost better off just buying the car and just having it as something that you're just going to run into the ground. Because I can see these cars. Like I was thinking for my business, I could just buy one of these for 15,000 and use it as a bit of a pool car. If I've got a charger at work. And people can go to meetings in it. It's not costing a lot. We look greener. It's not like I've been the original guy who paid 100,000.
No, that's right. You've got the bit of. I think this is what comes back to the top of the conversation. There is no one size fits all. Different customers need to sit down and understand what their options are.
But this is your skill, isn't it? This is your skill in what we're trying to do going forward.
We understand vehicles, and we also understand the financing side of it. So spending 10, 15 minutes with a customer to understand what they want from the car, what they're trying to achieve, from the financing is very important, because buying a car is it's a very easy process, but it's probably the most expensive mistake you can make. If you bought a house and didn't like it, you'd probably sell it in a year's time and make money.
Yeah, I get it.
If you buy a car and get it wrong, it's a whole world of pain immediately. So spending that extra 10, 20 minutes, half an hour understanding what's going to be good for you. If you're someone who gets bored quickly, likes an extra button on the dashboard because the new model's got that, then a lease is never going to work for you, because you're in that car for the committed period. But if you're buying second-hand vehicles that depreciate heavily, the pain to get out is usually a lot less, because obviously the first person or the first owners take the initial brunt. I think the only difference with EVs is it seems to be continuous. If somebody bought a 911, ran it for a year, and you bought it second hand, they've taken a bit of a hit to run that vehicle, and then you're going to take less of a hit.
Well, I kept thinking, I should have maybe took the offer Harrison had at VVS on the car, but I did like the car, so it's trying to. But I didn't realise that, I can go away for a weekend and come back and prices are 4,000 less than the 3 days before. That's how quick, because there's just so many on the market. Okay, Rob. Well, I'm gonna wrap up there, because that's quite a lot for everyone. But obviously, we're going to do more calls, not just on EVs, but obviously classic cars, modern classics, and some of the other deals we've done together over the last few years. And then I'm going to add this video to our sort of CTR community partners, and then we can just have a think about, I think if we have another call in a couple of months and just see where we are. But the good thing that I've done is obviously I have got a way out of 40k.
Yes, you run that car for 3 years for the monthly payment and hand the keys back.
Okay. And it looks like what I might have to do. No, great. All right, Rob. Well, nice talking to you. And
Pleasure,
I'll catch up again with you soon. Thanks, Rob.
Take care.
Cheers. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Sorry, I know that was a long call, but it's just quite interesting. And you need to just have lots of knowledge, and people like Rob and the team there who can give you that ability to make the right decision. And obviously him calling me and saying, Richard, put that in a PCP, that type was the best thing to do, although I feel like I am stuck in that car now. Maybe I shouldn't have bought it, but there you go. It's one of those things. just on that playlist button, I will put in the video into the CTR Community Partners tab on the playlist, and you can see stuff about the car insurance and different things there. Yeah, so yeah, quite a long call. Hope you enjoy these videos. Please like, share, subscribe. It does help people, I think, giving them knowledge. You know, you should be able to find from YouTube knowledgeable things that give you help, and that's what we're trying to do. And I'll see you again soon.